Hello and welcome back, everyone. I think this is going to be the last round of the day. We are getting close to the moment of calling it a day and go run to the keynote and then have a custom party. Um
Yes.
and now I have the honor. I'm super excited. I'm super happy to have the one and only Janet Gregory.
Oh,
I it's surreal for me to be sitting here with you and that you agreed to come and share a little bit with the audience because you are one of the godmothers of agile testing. I describe it, and I'm super honored and to meet you and Lisa. Lisa is a little bit over there.
yeah.
I hope to have a chance to bring her as well. Amiga Janet, how are you feeling? How is the conference being for you?
So far, so good. There's been some really good talks. I've enjoyed it. We had our tutorial yesterday,
Hmm.
and so that was a long day
Full
because
day?
it's a full day,
Wow.
and so it's by the time you're done, it's tiring. But it was a good day. It was a good tutorial. Really
Uh,
good participants. They were engaged, and all the exercises, and so it was good. I
that
enjoyed it.
I'm sure that everyone is really excited, and I've seen. I think it was Tisqua before the pandemic. I don't know if you were around, but Lisa was giving a tutorial as well. No, it
Mm,
was only Lisa. You couldn't come. Packed. The room was packed. Everyone uh,
yeah.
it's what happens when you create so much knowledge, awesome knowledge, and help so much people. I'm a
Thank
fan.
you.
All of your books, I have read them. I'm a big fan. You can tell I'm so excited. I the I wanted to ask you what gets me gets my attention first. I mean, would you mind giving an introduction for the ones that do not know who you are? That's
What, everybody doesn't know who I am? Just kind of, I'm kidding. So obviously, I'm Janet Gregory. I'm Canadian, and I've been working in Agile for well over 20 years. Um, Before that, I kind of started as a programmer, but moved into testing and quality. And I met Lisa Crispin, a co-author, in about 2000, 2001. We connected, and because I was a tester on an Agile team, and I didn't know what that meant. And so
I can
I,
relate.
yeah, and so at that point, I contacted Lisa, got her name from somebody because she was writing her first book, Testing in XP. And so I reviewed it because I was trying things as she was doing it. So it was really
Cool.
good. But then since then, Lisa and I have written 3 books on agile testing, and I've written another book on quality practices, agile quality practices, a model for assessing. So, but I worked on teams for a long time as a tester kind of thing. Sometimes as a coach, sometimes as a QA manager kind of person, but I was working kind of in teams. But after I wrote my first book, after I wrote our first book,
Hmm.
co-authored it, um, that's when we developed a course, and I started consulting and training, and that's what I've been doing for the last since 2010, so 13 years. Yeah.
It's been a long journey
It,
and impressive because yeah, I just have like 4 or 5 books, and you say that easy. Uh, how was the experience of writing one? Because I did that once and it's tough.
it's
But
tough.
how was it for you?
It is. Well, our first book was Addison Wesley asked us to write it, and so we did the outline. We had a timeline, and Lisa and I, we remotely, because neither of us lived in the same place, and so we did our mind map and we started writing. And when we're kind of getting towards the end, because we wrote it in very agile fashion,
Hmm.
and I would never write without a pair ever, but um, we would write a chapter and write 2 chapters. Every iteration, we wrote 2 chapters. And then we would have it reviewed. We had a review committee, and then we would take it and we'd write 2 more and have it reviewed as we went through and got
Two
feedback.
chapters,
Two
uh,
chapters every iteration.
every sprint
Yep,
doing it.
every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So what we would do is the first week, she would take a chapter and I'd take a chapter, and we'd write. And the second week, we traded.
Whoa.
right? So we could do some editing and adding our own stuff. And then at the end of the week, we had 2 chapters written. And so we were pretty consistent. There were times when we were on vacation or something and we didn't. But it took us over a year to get that because it's 500 pages. You know what?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I
fat.
do know. I love it. I do know.
And but as we were getting towards the end and kind of taking the feedback in and because some of the feedback had some really good ideas about how we could restructure a little bit. So we were doing this. And then Addison Wesley came back to us and they said, we've got a real demand. Can we move the deadline up 3 months? And we went, okay. So then we really kind of hurried our thing up. And they did what a light edit they called. So it
Mhm.
didn't go through a full copy edit. And we got it out in December when our initial thing was in March. But it was a year and a half, and we both worked full time.
Wow.
So you can guess what our husbands were quite happy to have the book finished. But I couldn't have done it without Lisa and with all our reviewers and everything else. It's just that was good.
And you sounded pretty happy to be done with that, and the husbands especially.
Yes.
But then the second part happened on the
I know.
book, right? How did
How
that?
did the second one come
Yeah,
about?
yeah, because
Well, Addison Wesley, 5 years later, they came back to us and they said, so your book's 5 years old. Should it have a second edition? Does it need rewriting, right? And we looked at the book and we go, no, actually, it's still just fine. It's kind of stood the test of time. But we said, but we've learned so much since then. So that's where more agile testing came. And but we were much better at writing by then. We had our system and it worked really well. So it wasn't quite as intense as the first book. But yeah, it went.
was it a faster experience or easier?
I don't know if it was faster. Um, by then, I wasn't working full time. I was a consultant. So I had a little bit more free time in between. I wasn't traveling or something. So I think that helped a little bit. But Lisa was still working full time. So we just had a better expectation as well. We had a working agreement, and we were able to say to the publisher, kind of putting our demands, and this is how we're going to do it. So it worked.
You already experienced the burn down charts, and you were already like, yeah, we already tuned this, and we can give a better prediction, right?
Well, yeah, that, and we just had a better idea of how it would work, right?
And I, it still surprises me that the mind map methods that you use to create it, and uh, I always smile when I open it, and the chapter is the map, and like this is really cool. I haven't been able to kind of do things through a mind map because I don't know, I
That's
may
not how your brain works,
work weird probably,
maybe.
but it's impressive how it generated all this. It's a ton of knowledge, and I'm always happy to. It's in my bookshelf, both of them. Like, yeah, I always look at them. Like, this gave me some indications on how to do things nowadays.
Yeah, a mind map is what I start everything. Any presentation I have to do, anything, start with a mind map. What is it I
Yeah.
want? What's the story I want to tell? What is the message?
Who is the mind map master, or who started it? Is it you or Lisa, or both of you?
No,
love
we actually learned about it at an Agile conference, probably in 2002, 2003. And 2 people, oh, I can see them. I don't remember their names. Lisa would remember.
We'll
their
add the names later, don't worry.
Yeah, and but they were going around the conference, and they were just going around with sheets of paper, and they'd go, "We'd like to show you a new thing that we found out, mind mapping." And so they were just going around, and it organically just kind of blew up and grew. So I could not tell you who is,
No,
who
you both
started it,
got
but
into it at the same time.
Yep.
It sounds like that's
So
a great serendipity. Do you think you would have finished the book that well or in kind of time
mhm.
without this discovery?
I have no idea. We probably would have done it like an outline, like
Yeah,
a Word
bullet
document or
points and
something. Yeah, but we had been doing presentations together for a while, and we always started with a mind map.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's our go-to. We just automatically start.
It feels different when I first read the books. It's like you can tell this is a different way of working or how it was generated, and that's why I'm like, would it be a similar book or would it be, as you say, just based on outlines? Or,
Yeah, yeah.
Chile,
It's,
I mean,
it's
who
because you
knows?
can see the big picture all at once, right?
Uh-huh.
You can see we want to have this now. How are we going to arrange it? You drag and drop,
I gotta start trying
right? And
giving a try again to the mind map. So it's mind blowing, pun intended. Um, one thing that I admire a lot, that you are the godmothers mothers of agile testing, and that it's not godfathers. And I really appreciate that. Uh, and I have been doing this a little bit here and there.
mhm.
Women in tech and having that courage to be on this tough career. And I imagine before was even tougher, right?
Yeah, I think so. Like when I went through university, maybe 10% were women coming through comp sci with me,
Hmm.
right? Maybe. And
Maybe even lower, right?
maybe lower. I never really counted. I just remember I was telling somebody this experience yesterday, I guess. I can remember being in one of our classes. It was a logic class, and the professor wanted to use an example. And he said, but before I give this example, I would like to say, ask the woman in the room. And it was a theater of 300 people. So
And the woman in the room.
the woman, and I kind
Oh
of,
wow.
I went, and I turned around and I looked up because I always sit in the front because I'm short and can't see. And so I turned around and I went, oh, that was my first real, because it was a first year course kind of thing. And I went, oh my God, I can't believe that I am the only woman in this course.
Wow.
And I just went, yeah. And so it gave me a different viewpoint of how I was approached my whole university career. But yeah.
But very, very interesting to me. You were already in that career, and from a get go, it's not common for girls. As you say, you were the only one.
Yeah.
What inspired you? What get you?
So,
Fun story as
yeah,
well.
no. So I was a mature student, right? So my children were already in grade 5, grade 6, right?
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I was a mature student, and when I went back, and I kind of looked at the university. I knew I didn't want to go back. We've done some traveling and things, and I knew that I didn't want to go back and have just a job. So I took the university, calendared the book, and I said, so what do I have the qualifications from my high school to do? So I went through and I went, all right, it's computer science or home economics. And I went,
Wait, what? How do those relate?
they don't relate, but those are the two things I could, because I had good science and decent math marks.
Hmm.
And I did a lot of, I was a mom for a lot of years. And so I looked at the home economics and I said, can't make a living, comp sci it is. And so I actually had to upgrade my marks. As a mature student, I could have gone in to university as a mature student, but it's the universities don't allow you to take anything that you want. There's only certain courses you can take, classes. So
Mm.
computer science, you had to have the marks. So I did go back and upgrade all of my marks. It was also a good learning for me to do it. And so actually the first year I went in and I took 2 courses just to see could I do this? Because it had been quite a few years since I graduated high school. So I took a statistics course and I took Swedish.
Where?
Those are the 2 courses, Swedish and statistics. And I took the statistics to say, could I learn? Could I apply my math? And I took Swedish because it would be fun. And if I couldn't do the other, then I at least had a basic understanding of Swedish.
And those two are part of the same
Yeah,
kind of like curricula.
no, well, the Swedish is, it would be an option because you can
Okay,
have a couple of
optional.
options, right? And so I actually took 3 years of Swedish as options. So
Cool.
I could almost speak it, but it's been too long now, and so
You would understand it,
I
I'm pretty sure.
after if I'm in Sweden for about a week, I can start to pick it up again. Yeah.
It- that was the hidden fact for me. I didn't know. Now you know. Everyone watching, uh, Janet is no Swedish. I was gonna
I
say
know,
fluent,
yeah,
but
I know. So, but my heritage, like, so my father's family is from Sweden, so
is that
that's
like
why.
behind that some of that reason why you chose, or
Yeah, yes, yeah,
okay,
that's exactly.
that's
So
interesting and very random. I didn't
it's very
see that
random.
coming. That
It's good to surprise people.
no,
It's
I'm
good.
very surprised, and it's as well surprising because you did a very rational decision on what to get, what career. I never expected to see that it was like mature
Hmm.
age that you would try that,
Yeah.
and even after all that, you got where you are. Like me, and I'm sure lots of people
Yeah.
admire you, what you have done,
Well, it just shows that if you put your mind to anything, you can do it, right?
and that's the other side. Because when I speak to women that are in tech and that are trying out here in conferences, either learning or presenting, it's like, how did you start it? But you late started.
I late started.
You didn't let it stop you, or
No, and when I think about it, I often wonder how did I do it, because my children were both in competitive sports at the time and going to school. So I did a lot of studying in the swimming pool and in the gymnasium. I'd go find a corner, drop them off, watch, do my studying, homework.
I'm not surprised now to hear that you and Lisa were working and doing the book. That explains a little
This
bit
explains a little bit.
how did you manage
Yeah.
to. And so, getting a little bit into nowadays, and again, people who doesn't know, uh, this woman is bad. Um,
Not bad.
no, because nowadays being in QA and not knowing how to tackle agile to me is a little bit
It's yeah.
worrying if people doesn't know. I I was put on that corner like, hey, we're gonna do performance now. It has to be agile. How to you better figure out. And I'm super happy your books
Well,
were the first ones.
but that's why we wrote them, because Lisa and I were kind of the first real test, the first Agile conference we
Pioneering.
went to. Um, Lisa and I and Brian Merrick were the only people who even identified as testers. It wasn't a thing, and so we had to learn the hard way. And we didn't want. Why should other people have to figure it out? We'd already figured it out, so that's why we wrote the book. It really
That's
was.
and it has helped a lot of people. But n- now in this, it's 20 something years that you're saying that you started to look into agile, and I'm surprised because 20 something years I didn't even know agile existed or things like that.
It's been around for a while.
It feels like
Yeah.
it's new.
I know. Well, it is new to a lot of people, and I think that sometimes we forget that there are still lots of companies out there that are not doing it, and they're
So
just
many.
yeah, and so I think that's why the book is kind of no matter where you start, it still gives you a spot to start in, and there's a lot of people that are still starting.
Why? What do you think is the main reason, or what is stopping people into like understanding it better or embracing it? Because there's a lot of confusion out there into
There's a
and
lot
the
of
water fragile that we see and so many of those things.
yeah. I think it's because they adopt a framework of some kind without stopping to think about what are the principles behind it. Like
Mhm.
that's one of the things is go back to the principles. What are they saying? The manifesto. Not even those top four things. The principles behind it. Page 2. If you go through that and know those 12 principles, everything else falls into place.
Mhm.
It's it's things like fast feedback. So how does that turn into testing? How can I get closer to the programmer to give them fast feedback so that it's not like there's just basic principles. And people don't stop to learn those, then they're just following something and they don't know how to make it better.
From what you're saying, it reminds me a lot when I have met people trying to implement it that wanted formulaic, formulaic,
They wanted a formula.
and like a
Yeah.
commandment to follow. And if anything, I think it's flex agile because it has to be
It has to be
flexible.
flexible. Yeah.
And I feel like there hasn't been that many like people open to that flexibility and like, why? It's not a formula. It's not like
No.
go with my feelings or
No, it's just understanding basic. I think of it as common sense, but it's not common sense to everybody. And it's just stick to basics. Think about what it is you're doing.
I think you said it very well, like the having the feedback, because to me that's one of the principles of agile, right? To having that feedback and constantly keep adapting and being agile, right?
Yeah. Well, this. So I've written last year I wrote a book with Selena DeLisi on assessing quality practices, agile quality practices. And number 1, 2, and 3 are social aspects. Number 1 is feedback. If you can't do fast feedback, if you can't think that through, then
Hmm.
everything else falls apart. Second is culture of the company, culture of the team, how's the team made up, and the third one is learning and improvement. And so those are 3 kind of cultural or social aspects. And then we start talking about the technical aspects. Because without those 3 in place, the technical aspects don't mean anything.
I love it that it's more like a philosophical situation with agile rather than technical.
Yeah.
It's a culture, it's principles, but I'm so sad that I promised that we wouldn't extend this too much. I could keep asking you and the conversation. I really hope I have an opportunity again to share and talk to you, or even personally, and I'll report.
Without the camera, yeah.
Yeah, but everyone, the keynote is about to start. We have to get off over there, and I have to release our amiga Janet. But it has been such a pleasure. When can
Thank
people
you.
reach out if they are interested in finding more?
Any time. And I'm pretty easy to find. If you just Google Janet Gregory, agile testing especially, you'll find
The
me.
first names Lisa and Janet are the first names that pop up. I'm super happy about that. So I'll see you around, everyone. Let's see what else happens
Bye-bye.
today if we get more, and let's get on to that keynote. Take care, Janet. Such a pleasure. Thank you so much. I'm super happy and blessed that you're here. Stay
Okay.
tuned, everyone, and we'll see more around of the awesome people that we have here.
Perfect.
Adios.
Bye bye.
Let's